Touching moment, proud black girl reveals her incredible 9 languages. Millionaire left speechless. Amara stood center stage, the spotlight illuminating her face, a fierce spark in her eyes. The audience sat in rapt attention, their breaths held tight. In that moment, she wasn't just a 12-year-old girl from the city, she became a beacon of hope, embodying dreams that echoed beyond the walls of their bustling neighborhood. She took a deep breath and began to weave magic with her words, each language a thread pulling her audience deep into her story. As she spoke in French, the sounds danced in the air like fragrant pastries being baked in a cafe. The crowd leaned in, entranced. Some whispered to each other, their eyes widening, clearly captivated by this spirited young girl who could bridge worlds with her gift. How can she speak so many languages, they wondered. What is her secret? It wasn't just about the languages. It was about the stories behind them. Each dialect held tales of friends at the community center where she volunteered tirelessly. She shared laughter with the younger kids who would gather around her, wide-eyed, as she transformed simple vocabulary into vibrant adventures. Resilient, scarred by her mother's long nursing shifts, Amara had learned what it meant to work hard and persevere. She was determined to rise above it all, but with the prestigious language competition approaching, shadows loomed in the corners of her bright world. Her estranged father's voice echoed cruelly in her mind. "Don't get ahead of yourself," he said. "People like us don't achieve dreams like that." The words sliced through her enthusiasm, leaving doubts lingering like thick fog. Then, Mr. Lawson entered her life, a local business mogul, fresh with ambition, who had been following her progress and offered sponsorship. His presence infused Amara with a thrill she desperately needed. She could feel the warmth of encouragement radiating between them, igniting a spark of hope that momentarily quieted the storm inside her. Before she could celebrate, her father arrived, bringing his familiar shadow with him. "You really think this is for you?" he scoffed, his voice laced with mockery. "You're wasting your time." It hurt like a poisoned dart, striking at her heart, feeding her insecurities. Amara felt trapped, torn between honoring her father's expectations and chasing her dreams. Every practice session afterward grew weighty with anxiety. Each word was a reminder of the fight brewing within her. The vibrant backdrop of family barbecues and the smell of grilled burgers from the local market faded as she wrestled with her internal struggle. Outside, laughter echoed, but inside, her chest tightened with fear. Would her father ever understand the power in her voice? "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." She walked onto that stage, everything and everyone around her faded until it was just her and the words she knew so well. As she began to speak, the audience hung on her every declaration. Every language she spoke felt like a piece of her soul freed. It was her truth, her identity, and as her father sat in the crowd, uncertainty flickered across his face. She could see it. Would her gift shatter the barriers between them or simply amplify the divides? As she poured her heart into every syllable, the question loomed: would her dreams be enough to bridge the misunderstandings that haunted their family? The applause thundered in Amara's ears, pulling her back from her inner turmoil. She squinted into the bright lights, unable to discern faces but feeling their energy washing over her like a warm wave. Each clap was a heartbeat, a chorus of encouragement echoing the hopes that resonated deep within her. But as her heart soared, the weight of her father's disbelief pressed heavily on her shoulders. She had been so desperate to impress him, to show him that her dreams were real, yet here he sat, a stone wall between laughter and tears. He looked away, and it stung. Was this joy too foreign for him to recognize? She took her final bow, riding the wave of adrenaline. Backstage, Mr. Lawson greeted her. A smile spread across his face, a mirror of pride. You were fantastic, Amara. I've never seen anyone connect with the audience the way you do. His words ignited a flicker of hope, but doubt still threatened to engulf it. Did it matter if others believed in her when the one voice that meant the most remained silent? Later that night, she curled up in bed, replaying the day's events in her mind. The lights. The cheers. The connection she felt with the audience was electric, but the lingering thought of her father's disapproval chilled the atmosphere around her. She sat up and stared at the ceiling, feeling her chest tighten again. Would there ever come a day when her father saw her gift for what it truly was? Her phone buzzed beside her. It was a message from Mr. Lawson. Let us meet tomorrow to discuss our next steps. I believe in you, Amara. She smiled to herself. At least one person saw her potential. Still, that smile couldn't mask the worry gnawing at her heart. The next day dawned bright and clear. As she made her way to the cafe where they were to meet, her mind raced with anticipation. What could Mr. Lawson want to discuss? Sponsorship? Opportunities beyond the local stage? Perhaps, just maybe, a chance to prove her father wrong. When she arrived, the scent of fresh coffee tinged the air, and the sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the historical charm of the place. Mr. Lawson sat at a corner table, his lively demeanor a stark contrast to the quieter morning crowd. He waved her over, and she felt a rush of hope. After the usual greetings, he leaned forward. Amara, I want to talk about an amazing opportunity. There's a language festival in New York coming up. It's huge. I see a place for you there. The words poured out like sweet honey, carrying with them the promise of recognition and a bigger stage. Her breath caught. This was the chance she had only dared to dream of. But, he paused, and her heart dropped. Is there any chance you'll allow your father to be part of this? I know it's complicated, but family is important. The question hung between them like a tightrope. Should she take the leap? Part of her didn't want to involve her father, afraid of backpedaling the progress she had made. But perhaps, this chance was bigger than personal pride. Let me think about it, she finally replied, her voice steady but her heart a jumble of emotions. The festival, a chance to shine, was also a risk of falling into old patterns. As she left the cafe, the city around her buzzed with potential new paths waiting to be explored. But the weight of her decision pressed on her chest. Would she pull her father into this world of possibilities or shield herself from the sting of his skepticism? The road ahead loomed uncertain, brimming with decisions that could change everything. And as she walked away, her mind churned with thoughts. Would the power in her voice be enough to open hearts that had long been closed? Amara stepped out of the cafe, her heart a wild drumbeat in her chest. The sunlight felt warmer now, talking to her, asking her to embrace what lay ahead. She glanced at her phone again, tempted to read Mr. Lawson's message one more time. The opportunity felt both thrilling and terrifying. She wandered through the streets, her thoughts racing. Thoughts of the festival twisted into visions of her father, the way his brows furrowed whenever the topic of her dreams surfaced, that unwavering disdain tracing his features. Surely, she could share this moment with him. But then, the voice of doubt crept back, drowning out the voices of encouragement. What if he scoffed? What if he turned away again? Brightly colored storefronts passed by, but she hardly noticed. All she could focus on was the gulf between her dreams and her father's expectations. If he could just see her, really see her, perhaps he would understand. When she got home, the air felt heavy, charged with unsaid words. She found her father sitting in his usual spot in the living room, a worn armchair that seemed to swallow him whole. The TV flickered quietly, but he wasn't watching. Instead, he stared out the window, lost in thoughts that seemed leagues away. She hesitated briefly but then recalled Mr. Lawson's hopeful words. This was important. This could change everything. Dad? She said softly, breaking the tense silence. He turned slightly, just enough for her to notice the tiredness in his eyes. He replied, still not fully present, and she felt a pang of frustration mixed with sadness. "I want to talk to you about something." She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her dreams stack on her shoulders again. "There's a big language festival in New York. Mr. Lawson thinks I could do really well there." For a moment, nothing changed. The world paused in that heavy space between them, filled with bated breath and unspoken sentiments. He turned to look at her fully now, and she felt the heat of his scrutiny. "New York?" he echoed, the skepticism clear in his voice. "And what makes you think you belong there? You have to be realistic, Amara." The words, though careful, still sliced through her. "I'm not just dreaming, Dad. I can do this. I have the talent." The fire ignited in her voice, fueled by both hope and desperation. "It's not just about me anymore. This could be big. I could make something of myself." He shifted, crossing his arms defensively. "I just don't want you to get hurt. You hear those stories of failure all the time. It's not always what it seems." "Exactly. You're missing the point. What if I don't fail, and even if I do, isn't it worth trying? Don't you want to see me succeed?" She caught a flicker of something in his eyes: fear, disappointment, maybe even regret. But his walls were still up. "It's just. I know this world, Amara. And it's not always kind." The words hung between them, a barrier she couldn't seem to break down. Amara's heart raced with anger, tinged with hurt. Did he truly believe she was so fragile? "I'm ready to fight for my dreams. But I need you to believe in me." His silence spoke volumes, louder than any response. The distance between them was palpable, and Amara could feel her heart pulse in her throat. "Just think about it," she said finally, her voice softening. "I really need you to see what I see. Please." With that, she turned and walked away, feeling the sting of tears prick at the corners of her eyes. The living room felt colder somehow, emptier without the warmth of a supportive smile. Outside, the sun still shone, but her chest felt tight. She glanced back at the window, half expecting to see him watching her. Instead, she saw only shadows, the reality of her father still a closed door. Amara took a deep breath as she stepped into the world beyond. She needed to decide soon. How strong was her resolve? Was the stage truly calling her, or was it merely a whisper against all she feared? As she strolled through the streets, doubt and determination waged war within her. Would she muster the courage to confront her father again? Or would she take the stage alone, fighting for recognition without the one person she desperately wanted to cheer her on? The massive festival loomed, full of potential, but so did her tangled heart. Little did she know, change was just around the corner. Amara wandered along the streets, the festival's buzz starting to swirl around her. Music floated through the air, punctuating her thoughts. Each note felt like a step closer to her dream, or perhaps a reminder of her father's doubt. The vibrant city felt alive, pulling her in different directions, but her feet seemed rooted to the sidewalk. She paused in front of a small stage where a street performer was captivating a crowd with amazing tricks and an infectious smile. People clapped and cheered, caught up in the energy of the moment. Amara felt a flicker of longing inside her. How liberating it must be to share your passion so freely, to make people feel. "Maybe that could be me one day," she whispered under her breath. But her heart sank as she thought of the past few hours, her father's doubts swirling like a storm in her mind. Would he ever see her that way? Suddenly, her phone buzzed again, breaking through her thoughts. It was a news alert about the festival. Curiosity piqued, she tapped the notification open. A short video played, showcasing talented performers, poets, dancers, and musicians, all coming from diverse backgrounds. And there, amid the powerful imagery, was a young girl standing on that very stage, tears streaming down her face as she spoke so passionately in multiple languages. The audience was enthralled, and moments later, they erupted into applause, chanting her name. Amara felt an urgent tug in her heart. That girl had captured something magical, a connection between passion and voice, courage and dreams. Was it really that simple? Could she channel that energy, the same that coursed through her veins when she thought of performing? Overwhelmed, she turned and headed to the cafe again, desperate for clarity. She inhaled deeply as she entered, the rich scent of coffee wrapping around her. As she took her usual seat, she spotted Mr. Lawson. He waved enthusiastically from the corner table, his laptop open in front of him. The sight of him energized her, stirring that hope that had flickered since the message he'd sent. "Amara," he called, his eyes bright. "Come sit." Before she knew it, she was rising and crossing to him. His smile was infectious, and the warmth in his gaze made her feel a bit lighter. "I saw the video of that girl too. She's incredible, isn't she?" he said, his voice laced with excitement. "Yes. I can't stop thinking about how powerful her words were," Amara replied. "But it's so far from me. What if I don't have that kind of talent? What if I fail?" "Failure," he interrupted gently, "is just another part of the process. What matters is finding your voice, your truth. That's what the festival is about, not just talent, but connection." His words hung in the air, beating against the doubt inside her. "How do I even begin?" "Start with what you love. Write about your journey, your struggles. Engage with people. Let them in," he advised, leaning closer. "Then show them what you can do." As she listened, Amara's heart began to beat faster in response. The tightness in her chest eased a bit. This was still possible. She could share her story, her languages, the vibrant parts of herself that had always been hidden beneath expectations. "Do you think I could really make a difference?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He grinned widely. "I believe you could inspire others just as she has. But it's up to you to take the plunge." The world outside began to fade as she embraced that idea, the chance of sharing her voice, her truth. Somewhere inside her, the fighting spirit was beginning to rise again, but even as excitement surged, doubts clung like shadows. What would her father say if he saw her on stage? Would he still see his little girl, or a stranger chasing a far-off dream? The cafe dimmed around her, thoughts swirling like a whirlwind. She needed to reach out, to share her dream, not just to be heard but to be seen. With a determined breath, Amara stood, leaving behind the comfort of the table. It was time to confront her father again. But would he embrace her or push her away once more? As she walked toward home, heartbeat quickening, she was set on a path drenched in uncertainty and hope. Would this time be different? Would her father finally believe in the daughter he barely knew? The streets felt different under her feet as Amara made her way home. The festival's cheerful noise faded, replaced by the echoes of her fears. Each step felt heavy, her heart thundered in her chest, a constant reminder of the confrontation ahead. What would she say? How could she explain that she longed to take a route away from expectations, to follow the music that stirred her very soul? As she approached the modest yellow house, her breath caught in her throat. It loomed before her, a silent witness to years of hopes and dreams tucked away, packed tightly like winter clothes waiting to be worn again. She glanced up at the window she always shared with her father, the patchy curtains fluttering gently in the evening breeze. This was it. Time to step into the light. Amara hesitated at the door, fingers trembling against the cool metal of the doorknob. Memories flooded her mind, her father's face when he caught her humming in kitchen, eyes crinkling with warmth, only to settle back into stern lines at the mention of her ambitions. Music won't pay the bills, he said before, dismissing her dreams like they were just wisps of smoke. But was that all he saw? Was that all he could ever see? Clenching her fists, she turned the knob and stepped inside. "Amara?" Her father's voice called out from the living room. His tone felt different today, tinged with concern. She walked in, the space feeling both familiar and foreign. He was seated in his worn chair, focused on an evening news program, but the image flickered out quickly as he turned to face her. "You're home early. Yeah, she replied, her voice trembling slightly. I wanted to talk. Can we sit down? His brows furrowed as he nodded, setting aside the remote control. The air thickened with every passing moment. A tangible force pulled them toward a conversation that felt overdue. Amara took a deep breath, her palms sweaty. I've been thinking about the festival and everything else. There's something I want to share with you. Is this about the performance? His expression tensed, words cloaked in a wary undertone. Yes. I saw someone who inspired me. She was so alive, so fearless on stage. I want to be like that. I want to perform, to share my voice with the world. Silence descended. The clock ticked loudly in the background, each heartbeat echoing in her ears as she searched for a reaction, any reaction. Amara, you know how I feel about these things, he started slowly, his tone cautious and layered with apprehension. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? She interjected, her voice rising sharper than she intended. What if I touch someone, inspire them? I can't just live in fear of what might happen. His gaze softened briefly, glancing away as if grappling with her words. You're so talented, and I don't want to see you hurt. This world can be harsh. But hiding isn't living. I want to show who I really am. I speak so many languages, I can express so much more than just what you see here. Her voice broke slightly, the emotion bursting forth, but she pressed on. I want to connect with people, and I need you to believe that I can. I need you to see me. His stern demeanor flickered, then wavered. Amara could see the struggle in his eyes, a father torn between protecting his child and allowing her the freedom to be who she truly was. Feeling the weight of silence, she took a step closer, heart racing. Please, Dad. Would you at least come to the festival? Just to see me. The flicker of emotions played across his face. The walls seemed to shift, shadows retreating as hope flickered in her chest, but just as she thought she saw the glimmer of understanding, he dropped his gaze once more, the tension between them pulsing. I don't know, Amara. Maybe you should think this through more. His words cut deeper than any knife. She felt the ache of disappointment clawing its way back. How could he not understand? She stepped back, feeling the warmth of courage start to slip away. She turned to leave, her heart pounding, ready to retreat into the safe distance of her own dreams. But as she reached the door, she paused. I'll be performing on Saturday. Whether you come or not, the world will hear me. And I hope one day you can see me too. As she walked out again into the evening chill, a storm of emotions churned within her. Would she still find the courage to step on that stage? Would she dare to share her truth even in the shadow of doubt? The thoughts swirled with urgency, fueling her determination. She had a voice, and it was time to share it no matter the cost. Now, as the festival loomed nearer, would she summon the strength to embrace the spotlight and perhaps, her father's acceptance? The days dragged on, each one weighed down by uncertainty. Amara found herself lost in thought, replaying her father's words like a broken record. She filled the hours between work and rehearsals with frantic energy, practicing in front of the mirror, in the shower, anywhere she could. Each note released felt like a small rebellion, a tiny act of freedom against the overwhelming force of doubt. Saturday approached, the festival's bright lights shining down on the city, beckoning. Streets that had felt so foreign were now bursting with colors and laughter, but Amara's heart was heavy. The thought of performing made her sick with both excitement and fear. What if she stepped onto that stage and the world turned its back? She could almost hear her father's concerned voice in her head. What if it doesn't work? The fear of failure loomed large, but deep within her, a spark ignited. What if it did work? As if summoned by her thoughts, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her best friend, Jamie. Are you coming? Can't wait to see you shine. The words lingered a moment longer than usual, wrapping around her heart. Jamie had always been her biggest supporter, the one who never doubted her. A small smile crept onto Amara's lips, pushing back the shadows of despair. It was time to channel that energy, to weave together the pieces of her fractured confidence. She texted back quickly, her fingers flying over the screen. "I'll be there. Ready to rock." The festival grounds were buzzing with activity when Amara arrived. Lanterns swayed in the trees, music pulsed through the air, and laughter seemed to echo off the buildings. She felt the energy thrumming through her veins. This was her moment, but it was also a test. With each passing performer, with every cheer and clap, she could feel her pulse quicken. Yet, the thought that tightened her chest, that made her stomach do flips, was her father. She hadn't heard from him since their talk, and deep down, she longed for him to be there that night. What if he still chose to stay away? In the midst of the chaos, she squeezed her eyes shut and took a deep breath, imagining the faces out there, visualizing a wave of love and acceptance washing over her the moment she stepped on stage. She could almost hear them cheer her name, feel the warmth of their applause. As her turn approached, Amara felt the familiar rush of her emotions. She could hear the whispers of encouragement from the crowd, and for a second, she savored the thrill of being seen. With one last glance toward the crowd, she stepped into the spotlight. The stage lights shimmered, blinding her for a moment, but as she adjusted, a familiar face caught her eye. There he was, her father, standing there with an expression she couldn't quite read. The world around her faded, it was just him. The weight of his presence pushed against her, filling her with resolve. As the first note sprang from her lips, her heart opened, releasing years of hidden dreams and struggles. She sang in a blend of languages, harmonizing her heritage with the melodies that danced freely around her. Each word was a kiss she planted in the air, each note a step toward bridging the distance between them. The crowd's cheer erupted, echoing like a symphony around her, but she could hardly notice. She was lost in the music, lost in her own world, creating a space where dreams could intertwine with reality. But then came the moment, a split second where she glanced back at her father, catching the glimmer of tears in his eyes. That twist of emotion gave her a second wind, turning her final chorus into a declaration: "This is me. This is my truth." Just as the last note lingered in the air, silence fell. The crowd exploded, clapping and shouting her name. But all Amara could see was her father, who stood frozen, trying to process what he had just witnessed. As she stepped off the stage, freshly exhilarated yet nervous, she wondered if this performance had shifted something within him, a crack in the armor he wore to protect himself and her. Would he accept this new version of their relationship? Before she found him, people swarmed her with compliments, but all she could focus on was that intense connection between them. Could it spark a transformation? And as she searched the crowd for her father's gaze, an unsettling question took root in her mind: what would happen next, once the echoes of applause faded? The crowd's cheers still echoed in Amara's ears as she made her way through the sea of people. Her heart raced in tandem with her thoughts. What would her father say? Would he finally understand her, the weight of her struggles, the beauty of her passion? As she scanned the faces around her, she couldn't shake the feeling of urgency. Her eyes darted from one familiar face to another, each one sparking a memory, a moment of joy or pain. The warmth of the festival was palpable, but the impending conversation with her father loomed over her like a storm cloud. Then she saw him, standing near the edge of the crowd, slightly apart from the others. His expression was a blend of pride and incredulity. The news of her performance had just started to settle in, and the fact that he had come after everything meant the world to her. "Dad!" she called, her voice cutting through the haze of celebration. She rushed forward, adrenaline coursing through her. It felt like the moment she'd been waiting for her whole life. He turned to her, eyes wide. In that moment, they were just two people, stripped of all the weight that had come between them. I didn't know you could sing like that," he stammered, his voice barely above the lively chatter around them. Amara felt her face flush. She had almost expected him to dismiss her moment, but instead, he was genuinely amazed. "It was just beautiful," he continued, his eyes softening. Those languages I didn't know you had that in you. An overwhelming wave of emotion hit her. This was at the bridge she had longed to build. Dad, I've always wanted to share this part of me with you. It's who I am. He blinked, and for the first time, she saw that flicker of understanding ripple across his face. I know I've been hard on you, he admitted, his voice cracking slightly. I wanted to protect you. She could feel the walls he had built for himself start to crumble, and hope surged within her. I get that, but I need you to see me, too. I need you to believe in me. He ran a hand over his face, deep in thought, as if he were weighing the words carefully. I've seen so many of my friends and family struggle. I guess I just wanted you to be safe. Safe can feel like a cage, Dad, she replied softly, stepping closer. I want to thrive. I want to be seen, not just protected. Amara searched his eyes for a glimmer of connection, a sign that he was beginning to understand the depths of her desires. The sounds of laughter and music around them faded into the background, leaving just the two of them almost as if they had created a bubble of honesty amidst the festival's chaos. That he let out a heavy sigh, and for a moment, she thought he might turn away, retreating behind his old fears. But then, in a surprising move, he reached out and took her hands into his, warmth radiating between them. I'm proud of you, Amara, he said, voice now steady and filled with warmth. I should have told you that sooner. Tears brimmed in her eyes. Could this really be the turning point she had wished for? Before she could respond, someone called her name from behind, snapping them back to reality. Amara. You've got to come back and celebrate with us. Jamie's voice chimed, excitement bubbling over, but Amara's heart was torn. She turned back to her father, searching for the words to keep this moment alive, to ensure it ignited something more profound than just a fleeting encounter. What if I could share more of this with you? My music, my heart, everything, she asked, voice trembling with hope. He hesitated for a heartbeat, then nodded slowly, as if the weight of understanding had finally settled in. Yes. I think I would like that, he said, a smile creeping onto his lips. As they joined the celebration, her heart danced with the rhythm of newfound possibilities. For the first time, she felt the weight of the future lift, but another question lingered in her mind: would the path to understanding be just as challenging as their past? Just then, Jamie pulled her into a group of friends, laughter erupting around them like fireworks. But Amara couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Would she and her father truly bridge the gap between their worlds? The energy of the festival wrapped around Amara like a warm blanket. Laughter twinkled like the lights strung overhead, and music pulsed through the very ground she stood on. But even amidst the joy, her thoughts whipped through uncertainties. What would tomorrow hold for her and her father? As Jamie pulled her into the dance, Amara felt the rhythm of clarity lifting her spirit. She twirled, allowing her emotions to mingle freely, laughter spilling over like champagne. Still, a part of her remained anchored in that moment with her father, the glow in his eyes still vivid in her memory. Come on, Amara. Jamie shouted above the music, tugging her closer to the heart of the crowd. You've got to see this. Everyone's talking about you. Amara's cheeks flushed. The thought of being talked about in such a way was almost overwhelming. The adrenaline from her performance still flowed in her veins, and she wanted to ride this wave, bask in the happiness that came with it. But part of her felt tethered, looking back for reassurance from her father as if it were a safety line in the joyous chaos. As she danced, visions of the complexities waiting at home danced through her mind, discussions that could shift their relationship for good or plunge them back into silence again. But that small flicker of hope ignited a determination within her. She had shared her music, her heart. It was time to share more. Let us get a drink, Jamie said, pulling Amara toward a booth adorned with colorful banners and artisanal refreshments. As they approached, Amara spotted her father standing at the edge of the crowd, watching her with a content smile. She felt a laugh bubbling up, the mixture of joy and fear erupting inside of her. How could she embrace both this moment and the conversation still to come? She grabbed a drink and turned back to Jamie. I want to introduce you to my dad. Are you sure about that? Jamie asked, her brows raised. I mean, after everything? Amara nodded, her conviction solidified. I want him to meet the people who make my life brighter. He needs to see what I love. With Jamie trailing behind, Amara took a deep breath and made her way toward her father. Each step felt like a journey into unknown territory, but the excitement outweighed her fears. As she approached, his smile widened, and that warm feeling washed over her again. Hey, Dad. Amara said brightly. I want you to meet my best friend, Jamie. Jamie stepped forward, her energy radiating warmth. It's so great to finally meet you. Amara's been telling me all about you. They exchanged pleasantries, but Amara could see the subtle tensions in her father's face. They were still in uncharted waters, a delicate balance of new beginnings and old patterns fighting for dominance. Wow, you're the one who makes those amazing languages come alive. Jamie exclaimed. Amara's been incredible tonight. His eyes softened, and Amara felt a shift. Maybe, just maybe, the connection between them was starting to solidify like a fragile artifact being preserved carefully. Could laughter and joy help bridge the distance that had grown between them? As the evening carried on, Amara found herself lost in the festivities, but the thought of their upcoming conversations danced in the back of her mind like a tune she couldn't forget. Would her father truly cross the threshold from fear into acceptance? As she sipped her drink, glancing at the jubilant faces around her, a flutter of apprehension wound its way into her heart. Amara. Jamie chimed again, drawing her attention. Let us go take a picture over by the stage. Caught in the excitement, Amara smiled and joined Jamie, but as they posed among their friends, her gaze flickered back to her father. He stood there, a solitary figure, yet everything was shifting around him. What would he say once the night faded into whispers and the festival lights dimmed? As they found their spot near the stage, the music swelled, and Amara took a deep breath, her heart racing. She sensed that tomorrow would unfold something she had always wished for, but was she completely ready for it? The moment was electric. Amara stood near the stage, surrounded by laughter and music. Her heart raced not just from the rhythm of the night, but from the weight of what tomorrow could bring. Jamie posed with her, flashing a radiant smile, but Amara's thoughts were anchored elsewhere. Her father's figure hovered on the periphery of her mind. Ready? Jamie asked, nudging Amara with a playful grin. Yeah, let us do it. She replied, shaking off the butterflies in her stomach. They cheered along, capturing the lights glinting off the small silver sequins on Amara's dress, a piece that mirrored her own sparkling hope. The camera's flash illuminated their faces, freezing this moment of friendship and joy. Yet, the corner of her eye caught her father still watching, a slight furrow in his brow as if he were unraveling the bright tapestry of her life thread by thread. Amara. He called, stepping closer. She felt Jamie's excitement radiate around her, but dread pooled in her stomach. Change loomed over them like clouds before a storm. Dad, she said, turning to him, unsure how to release the weight hanging between them. He offered a hesitant smile. You did amazing tonight. Everyone's talking about how talented you are. Thanks, she murmured, her heart racing with gratitude and fear. I wanted you to be a part of this. He nodded slowly, and a flicker of pride crossed his face, which made the tight knot in her chest ease just a little. We should celebrate this, Jamie exclaimed, swinging her arm around Amara's shoulder. You have to get in the spotlight more often. Let us see about that, her dad replied, the corner of his mouth curling up. How about an encore? The words hung in the air, full of possibilities. Each syllable felt like a thread weaving them together, binding past fears with newfound hope. Amara glanced at Jamie, who already seemed to envision another dance or perhaps an impromptu performance. An encore? Amara asked, her voice barely above a whisper, uncertainty creeping back. You know, you should think about involving your dad in your performances. It could be interesting, Jamie said, her eyes twinkling with mischief. Amara's breath caught. What did that mean? It hinted at sharing not just her music but her life and struggles too. The thought sent tremors racing through her as she faced her father. Would you, she hesitated, gathering her courage. Would you want to help me with that? To be part of my music? The question hung between them, a bridge tacked to a shaky foundation. Her father's gaze softened, and he took a step closer, reverberating a warmth she had longed for. I think it's time we talked more honestly. His voice was steady yet tentative, like a man stepping into a known fear. Hope fluttered wildly in Amara's chest. Really? You mean it? Yeah. If you're willing to share, I want to listen. The sincerity in his voice resonated deeply, wrapping around her like the festival lights above. A new realization settled between them, brighter than the colors swirling in the night, a door ajar, inviting and full of potential. Moments passed with the sounds of laughter continuing in the background, and Amara held her breath, acutely aware that the next word spoken could change everything. Tomorrow could bring a fresh start, couldn't it? Amara ventured, her heart racing as anxiety mixed with anticipation. Her father nodded, a fleeting smile dancing on his lips. Maybe we could finally bridge that gap, together. But before joy could fully bloom in Amara's heart, she noticed the shadows creeping from the edges of the festival, the quiet worries that still haunted them both. What if they stumbled? What if old habits snuffed out hope before it had a chance to grow? As the night lingered, Amara sensed the intensity of what lay ahead. Would they face the music together, or would silence return to fill the space between them? Come on, Jamie interrupted, pulling her back to the present. Let us keep celebrating this moment before it slips away. I'll be right there, Amara called as Jamie danced away, the music drawing her back into the crowd. But Amara remained rooted, her eyes locked on her father's, both of them poised on the lip of change. Tomorrow's promise loomed large. Would it deliver on its hope or shatter everything they had just begun to uncover? In that moment of stillness, surrounded by laughter and lights, Amara felt the trembling pulse of hope and fear alike. Tomorrow, she whispered, capturing the weight of that word, unable to shake the gravity it held. What awaited her beyond the dawn? The sun broke over the horizon that Saturday, washing the city in golden light. Amara was up early, heart racing with anticipation for what lay ahead. Today would mark a turning point in her journey, a blending of dreams and realities she had only dared to imagine. Her phone buzzed to life beside her, messages of encouragement flooding in from friends and supporters. Each notification filled her with a sense of belonging, yet the lingering thought of her father's doubt gnawed at her. She slipped into her dress, the same vibrant fabric that seemed to carry the spirit of every language she spoke. Looking in the mirror, she couldn't help but smile at her reflection. Today, she whispered to herself, is for me. This is my moment. With every step toward the festival, a thrilling blend of excitement and nerves surged through her. Arriving at the bustling venue, the air was electric, pulsing with energy. Brightly colored booths lined the pathway, filled with vibrant fabrics, delicious smells, and laughter. The music drummed in her chest, resonating with her heartbeat, but one sound was noticeably absent. Where was her father? The thought made her head spin. In the distance, she saw Jamie, her best friend, waving energetically, a contagious smile stretching across her face. Amara. You're here. It's about to start. She shouted, signaling her to join the throng of performers gathering backstage. Amara took a deep breath, the reality of what was coming flooding her senses. Then, she spotted him, her father, standing at the edge of the crowd, hesitant but present. His eyes searched through the commotion, finally settling on her. As she approached, the reality of this moment twisted her gut. Her heart raced not from fear of performing, but from the sheer weight of what they had to unfold. Dad, she spoke softly, breaking the barrier that had stood between them for so long. I'm glad you're here. He hesitated for a moment, then nodded, a flicker of pride in his gaze. But still, shadows of uncertainty lingered, and Amara felt the tension curling in the air, waiting to unfurl. I've thought a lot about what you said. About wanting to connect, to really see each other, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. I need you here today. Not just as my father, but as part of this journey. He hesitated again, but there was a shift in his posture, a softening. I know I haven't been easy on you, Amara, he replied, his sincerity wrapping around her like a warm blanket. I guess I don't want you to get hurt. But maybe that's my worry, not yours. The honesty in his voice resonated, echoing all the fears they both held. Let today be our step forward. Together. Today was more than just a performance, it was a canvas for connection. As the stage manager called her name, the crowd erupted with applause, and she glanced back at her father, whose eyes shone with something new, an awareness, perhaps, a willingness to engage. She took a deep breath, knowing this was the moment for her to shine. The spotlight hit her, shimmering like fresh hope, illuminating the depths of her heart. Standing there, she remembered the laughter at the community center, the kids' bright eyes filled with dreams. Her voice flowed out in a rich tapestry of languages, each word binding her story and theirs, inviting her father to witness her truth. With every note, she felt lighter, the burdens of doubt melting away. She sung not just for herself but for them, her father, her community, and every child who believed their voice could matter in a world that often silenced them. And then came the chorus, the moment where their eyes locked. Her heart soared, echoing a silent hope. Would he finally see? As the last note lingered in the air, a hush fell before the crowd erupted in joyful applause. Voices chanting her name wrapped around her like a warm hug. Amara looked for her father, finding him standing with tears glistening in his eyes. The wall that had once separated them began to crack. Amara, he called out, his voice thick with emotion. I didn't know you had this in you. She felt a rush of joy flooding through her as she stepped off the stage, her heart swelling with pride. The distance that had stood between them felt less formidable now, filled with the promise of understanding and connection. She rushed to him, their embrace signaling a newfound bond stitched together by love, vulnerability, and shared dreams. Can we talk? He asked, his voice genuine and open. Absolutely, she replied, smiling through her tears, aware that this was just the beginning. They walked into the festival together, two hearts finally aligned. The echoes of applause faded, but the beginning of their story was just unfolding, a narrative of acceptance, love, and the bravery to shine together. Their journey awaited, with no boundaries but the ones they would launch into infinity. And as they stepped into the bright celebration around them, the future extended before them, an open road filled with possibility, honesty, and the courage to truly see one another. Together, they would face this world, filled with shared dreams and the power of voices united. This is the moment for you. Subscribe to the channel immediately, don't miss the next exclusive stories that will ignite your spirit. Leave a like now, your support fuels us to bring more stories like Amara's. Comment below with your thoughts on this incredible transformation and how it speaks to you. And for true fans, share this video with at least 5 friends who need a spark of inspiration today. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your action makes a difference in the journey of storytelling.